Good evening. I done had, I think this is my third video of the day. And this got to do with education. I don't know where to start first. Because I just heard the most diabolical thing. Brandon Johnson is a diabolical butthole. But let me tell you, it's masterful how these people play. How these people play you like a fiddle. He has just, I don't know where to go first. I'm just going to start off with, remember back at the State of the Union address, and the president asked, was it stand up if you are for American citizens? Something about American citizens. And we saw who stood up and who didn't. Now, I myself already knew. A lot of us knew. Then you had some of us that realized that night. And then they did a comparison. And they was like, But then, you always still had the people that's holding on. Like LTD, holding on. But the love is gone. And let me tell you, the love is gone. Not only, and I'm thinking about the lady that tried to challenge me when I was talking about the fact that it was very hard to deal with for me when the hurricanes hit last year, and how was it Asheville, when they didn't have resources because the money was spent on funding housing for illegals, even out of the FEMA fund. And a lady had the gall. I work at an agency under DHS, so I know what money was being spent on when it came out of DHS coffers. So it wasn't news to me that FEMA was funding or using the money to shelter the illegals. I knew that. I was pissed. My close friends, they know. Because I was like, man, and then they saw it too, because they were another agency under DHS. So they was like, oh yeah, we talk about it. Sickening. So we already know. They tried to deny the border was opening, all that foolishness. I was working the approvals for people to go on details to the southern border. And not only that, but reading the news and just watching. And not the news that most of y'all use to get confused. No. News around the country. And because I know people, and I don't have no problem talking to people in other countries, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, to figure out what's going on. And especially when we all are the same mind, like, oh no, we don't, we logic minded. So we wasn't listening to none of this foolishness people were saying, and then you trying to argue me down. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just going to let you know you're a fool. And I came with receipts, because I remember once the receipts started pouring in, because the receipts came from a very likely place for me, Glassdoor, in the community section. It was a program manager for FEMA. The receipts was out there in some of the news releases, but because a lot of people don't watch or look at news, they didn't know. Or the articles. They just trust these people to tell you whatever they're going to tell you. Oh, no, we not doing this, that, and other for illegals because it's against the law. Since when y'all care about the law? Y'all say that because you want to make it sound like we crazy. No, your asses are crazy. And you're liars. Just like you lie about genders. But anyway, so lady was in Glassdoor. Program manager for FEMA. She dropped some receipts, and I was like, whoa, this is a job group. Oh no, because I guess she was disgusted too. So now that it was coming out, it's fair game. She dropped in there how FEMA was, funding shelter for the illegals, sending money to New York, And then New York Mayor Adams, they got mad at him because he spoke up and said, hey, this is not sustainable. We got too many people coming in here. They staying at, high price hotels up there in New York. The government is paying for it. So that's for sure money that they're going to pay for the illegals and the people that want to loaf on the system. They're going to pay for that because failure is a surefire way to get. Anyway, so he rang the bell. It was like, no, this is not sustainable. But y'all don't nobody focus on that because the spin. No common sense, no logic, no nothing. So now we're going to come up here to 2026. I've been saying for years education is dumbed down, watered down, lower standards. Now we seeing all the fruits of what I said. So we've been seeing colleges speak out on how the kids are coming unprepared. It's by design, people. They want your children dumb because to make them, you know how Joseph, his brothers sold him into slavery? His brothers. It's always your family or people that's like you, that's not loyal to you. AKA all these activists that hate and align with the jihadists. They are not for us. So they are like Joseph's brothers. They selling us off into slavery, captivity, secondhand citizenship. Because they have made a deal with these people and let them come here, and they doing everything for them. So the educational system, they don't teach them nothing. They just tell them all these terms that really are not what they say they are. They just put a spin on it like they did on maps. Minor attracted persons. It's a spin on pedophile. It's a spin. They've been doing all this stuff for years. Why you think they went from Dixie crack to whatever crack? I don't know. What was that? The abolitionists to the anti-abolitionists. But they weren't the abolitionists though. They weren't none of that. That name always changing. Always changing. So now they in the transformation from Democrat. We already got the brands with liberals and progressives. Garbage. But now they socialists. They always changing their name to something. Since when they was running the plantation. So, and then true to form, like on the plantation, they didn't want the slaves to learn how to read and write and do certain things because they know if you know how to read and write, you're going to think, you'll be able to reason. What they've done to the educational system, basically. So now you have children in college. One, a lot of them are getting degrees in things that they know they're going to well don't transfer into no job. So that's money you in debt for what? But instead of being mad at them because they set it up that way, who majors in gender studies? So when you're studying genders, there's only two genders, but when you're demonic and you need to make a career for yourself, you create genders in the lab with Satan. So now you got all these different genders. Every day it's a gender or another alphabet being added. But they did all that because they want to get to the P. Because Satan is a pervert. He perverts everything of God. He's a pervert. And they're perverts. So, and took the educational system. They stopped cursive. They stopped, the clocks. Kids can't tell time. The kids tell time. If they can tell time, it's because they have parents. Now, some schools still do, because there's some schools that are in places where they're going to hold to a standard. But in the places where these pervocrats are, no, ain't but so much standard you gonna have. The only standard is pronouns, hate ice, teach them this word. First of all, you didn't even teach them the Pledge of Allegiance correctly. You didn't teach them that it's a constitutional republic. So they out here hollering about it's a democracy. Then they don't understand what a democracy is because at the end of the day, That's majority rules. So if the majority of people voted for a person to be in office, how how anyway, I'm sticking on education. So educationally, they don't understand anything. Like they don't understand that. Prime example, quiz for Palestine. Anybody that knew and was really educated enough, they would know that these people, they would kill you. They throw you off roofs, so they do whatever over there because you gay. America and a lot of countries, other countries that are so foolish and want to be so whatever, being effeminate and effeminate led is, they'll tell you, they won't tell you that. So these kids don't know. So Proverbs 19:18 again, you have not disciplined these children or taught them anything so that they can have hope, which hope is a future, but you're a party to their death. Yeah. So now they don't know none of that. But they learned, some of them learned last week on that cruise ship, didn't they? That little guy that ran over to the Netherlands or wherever he went to, he learned because he in a camp now with Muslim illegals that are threatening his life. He wants to come back to America. All because dumbass adults are not doing their job. And then you got an education system that's not doing it. And then they teaching them to not do it. And they teaching them all this erroneous stuff. So they going into the schools with it. So now that's why you got all these freaking multicolored flags. And being wedded to the jihadists. When you're not loyal to your own and you willing to sell your own. Joseph's brothers sold him to slavery because they was jealous of him. Because their father, and the father, he showed him favoritism, but he set him up that way. But look what he did. He tricked his own daddy though. He tricked his brother out of his birthright for some porridge, and then the daddy, he fooled his daddy. The same thing as trans. Just everything is fooling. So, when you don't know these things and can't think, you believe people when they tell you, oh, I'm going to give you this for free. But they don't tell you free requires tax base. Instead of just focusing on, we're going to take this from, we're going to, make it hard for businesses to make money. Because when they make it hard for businesses, they making it hard for you to even get a job. Because if businesses are so encumbered with paying rent, property taxes, payroll tax, insurance or XYZ, and then fees and stuff on top of that yearly, whatever regulations they slap on them, then they have lives outside of that. And the more they make, the more you got to pay to where you are doing business. If they're not able to do that with all those regulations, you can't have a job. They move out of your state, like a lot of them are doing, and go someplace where they can do business. So where those jobs go? So if you don't have enough people making a certain amount of money, they can't tax it. They can't tax it and put money back into the system, and you're not generating any income. Because if you start a business, if you can sustain the fees and things that they put on you, then you got to maybe get some staff. But how you gonna get staff if people have left the state, and then you don't have people that's educationally able to hold the job? Because their ignorance makes it harder for you. You basically working by yourself, for yourself, and just paying somebody. And that's basically what they want these kids to do. These kids they're training these kids, they've been doing it for years. Because I listen to the language of what these people say when they talking about something or when they on TV pushing something. So I do that. So I've been talking about this for a long time. That's why I feel like I've been doing this since I was born, but I know I haven't. But I know I've been talking about all this stuff for such a long time. And few people pay attention. Some people do. And I'm thankful for the people that do. Because now they like, oh, wait a minute, what? So, anyway, so once you have the educational system as a failure, it's easier for them to be jealous of their brothers and sisters that are productive and making money and doing things. So now they want your money and they don't want to work for it. So when you have the people that want to make sure that they can take over them, they make sure that they keep them uneducated and it's somebody else's fault. So now they can go out here and rob these people, commit scams, set up false meeting places to buy something and shoot or steal. All this stuff that you see going on that is being allowed. No ankle monitors, no nothing. We don't want jails. We don't want this and the other. They'll have protection because once you take the middle class out, it won't be anybody to maybe keep the balance of the rich and the poor. So the rich will be able to pay the poor, which will be more of us, as they capture industries and tell who can have a job and who can't, and then tell you how much they're going to take from you because everybody else needs some of your money. So how many people going to want to produce that? So then when you don't have people incentivized to work and you have too many people relying on the government, that's less money and resources, because where the government going to get their money and resources from if less people are working or able to provide jobs to people? So you have a whole dependent class. So when you have more dependents, then you have people that are supposedly in charge. Thus, how they want to get rid of the Senate, get rid of the presidency, and just have a group of people that decide. The group of people decide. Not you, not me. But when you don't have an educational mind and you've been trained not to work, and then your family don't put any stipulations to make sure that you're learning, it makes it easier for you to sit every day. People do videos, and I'm like, these people really put videos out here, and they sound, one, I'm broke, I don't have a job, but I don't want to work. But you're homeless, and you have kids. They don't want to work. Because they've incentivized welfare for too many of our citizens, but they're boosting and legitimizing and channeling money to the illegals off of taxpayers. So we got the illegals and the criminals and the subsidized Americans that we got to take care of. And when I say subsidized, I'm not talking about people that are legit subsidized. But then they've expanded disability to mean so many things that ain't even really disabilities. They're just things that you could learn to work with and do, but you get a check for it. So you've incentivized people to not work, but then you want to give out all these. Now, my problem, I want the president and them to slow down on all these visas. What I've been learning, what I try to learn when they have different webinars, I'm like, I want to know how many different, it's too many different visas. I can't keep up. I done sat on a class with the work visas, and you got the work visas, and then you got the, what's that, legal permanent resident. Then I'm like, well, in the legal permanent resident, somebody's been naturalized, no, there's something else. Like, it's too many different things. I just think we need to shut down. This me. I'm for going harder. We need to shut down all immigration. Just deal with who's in the pipeline. Get the illegals out, but then just deal with the people that's in the pipeline. But anyway, let me go back to education real quick. So you got the State University of New York, who are going to be having, I think, mandatory tutoring classes for students because they don't have a grasp and they're not proficient in basic math and English. So you're sending, your kids are going to college. Colleges are expensive. Schools are not educating them to make or meet college demands. The only ones that are parents, yet again, like I said, that take the extra step and make sure that their kids, and they checking to see what kind of schools they in that will benefit them, not indoctrinate them. So they make sure, or they check their work and this, that, and the other. Not the lazy parents, or either the ones that just maybe genuinely don't have the time. They might be sick or ailing. They pass these kids. So now you got to pay all this money and go in debt. That's where the racket is. If you don't have to go to college, but you can maybe take some courses here and there, go to community college, and then maybe go to college from there, or maybe work a little bit, find a job where they pay for you to go to school. You don't need to take on all that debt, because at this point, it's a racket. It's a racket. Unless you get into something to specialize, nursing, and even nursing, you can go community college and then go to another university. But you got to make sure that you're learning something that's functional and translates into what we're going in the future. Trades need to be brought back. Some kids need to just go straight to a trade, but where you going to go if you can't even read and do basic math? I would rescind the admissions. And then they need to the school, and in the state, they need to the diploma. Everything is nothing now. It's watered down. It's nothing. They're not educating you for a reason, but they're putting education and resources into illegals. And this is a prime example. I remember, I don't know if it was right after Biden was in office, put in office, whatever you want to call it. And he was having them. They had somebody had leaked the Zoom call with him, and I think Al Sharpton, Al Sharpton, and some other people, and he was telling them, "Hey, y'all gonna have to learn how to work with the Hispanics." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And then no, you should learn how to work with people. But for me, it was interesting because sometimes how you say it, just the discernment, and then the context, the discernment makes me like, let's watch this. So then, when the border was thrown open, these people coming here and they getting different people in different parts of different countries, especially where they sanctuary, when they were describing the things that they were offering them, I was like, damn. If you can offer that, you should be able to offer your taxpayers that carry the load. You should be able to offer them something once a year. Offer us some food stamps around Christmas. But no, it's going to the illegals. So, Chicago, I just saw a guy going over the news alert, and it's funny but it's sad, because these people, I'm like, what were y'all thinking? You tell them something ain't right with this dude. Chicago is laying off teachers, deficit, all that, and laying off teachers. But come to find out, they're not just laying off teachers. What they're doing is they're hiring bilingual people in certain schools, in certain places. Your children in the Chicago schools, they don't have no top tier. Their schools are not well known for being bastions of education. So the kids could use some real teaching. No, get rid of the teachers for your kids. Then one school, they said their enrollment is so bad they can't even test the kids to find out what their proficiency is, because it's not enough of them to even, I guess, cover who might be, what school belongs to who. It's just crazy. But I just thought it was diabolical. You getting rid of these teachers, but then you're going to hire bilinguals. Because again, you not having sufficient educators or being taught anything doesn't matter. The illegals, y'all tell me, do that sound like somebody that's for you? Do it sound like they have Josephed and his brother Americans, or their citizens or residents in those specific states and cities? Could that become the case here in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia? We see it partially with Virginia, especially with the illegals being arrested doing things, and then they, vacillate between giving them over to ICE. ICE got to catch a lot of them on a humble. Or maybe, they got somebody that's, let them know, hey, this is a bad guy. We not about to let him out. But, yeah. But that's what you need to be thinking about in this area that we in. I know a lot of these schools are inundated with these, it was a story in one of the news papers, or not a newspaper, but one of the news outlets did a story a couple of years ago, maybe around 2022, 2023, I'm thinking, Mary Bowles and whoever in the school, saying that, the school system, they were being overwhelmed and, taken away from the other students because they got to address the illegal population. So Chicago, you already know he's a socialist. How soon before all the rest of these sanctuary cities and things, and they have these legal funds and all that, giveaways, like D.C., Maryland, Virginia? How long before do you think they're going to start? They already started in a lot of places. Because like I said, the kids, the literacy rate and everything, it's terrible. It's terrible. But yet they can crime on no end, without end, because it's meant for that. Get them killed or get them sent to jail, and that gives their new children that gives them less to deal with you. So yes, deport on to my sister agency, because now we need to work on incentivizing Americans. Keep hollering about Anthony Brown over there, Lieutenant Governor in Maryland. Your economy is the worst. They saying. What they say, the ninth worst in the country, or is it 49th? Y'all hit 49 on something. But anyway, you want them to extend TPS, which is temporary protected status. Temporary means not permanent. It means for a period of time. So when something is temporary, it means it doesn't last forever. I'm sick of the why on that. But you over there hollering about you want them to consider extending TPS for the Haitians. Why? You got a whole welfare roll that you need to incentivize to go to work. You need to incentivize a lot of people to go to work. The jobs need to go to Americans. You need to make sure the companies are paying them a wage not as low as the illegals, but a little something that they can work with, and then encourage them to take that skill and maybe build it and grow into where they can go on to something else, not stay at a low level so they can keep their benefits. You want to eventually graduate people off of benefits, but not when you're raising them handicapped and devoid of education. Yeah, the educational system is trash because it's run by too many people that are of the culture and who want to sit up here and be worried about things that don't have to do. But those people, again, Brandon Johbson and them, they find their kids can go to whatever schools or learn whatever, and they gonna finish. I understand his pension is gonna be awesome when he is no longer mayor or whatever the case may be. But they don't care about you. I think his police detail has got so many officers, but they need them on the street. He don't care. he said he don't want no prisons in those. But yeah, it's free for all. Kill you. Because it's not him. He got protection. Prime example of tricking you and benefiting themselves. Peace.